Hi, I'm Reverend Zach, the Black Ranger.
And I am runner-up Rowan College Dodgeball Invitational, Matt.
Oh, you didn't win?
No, we won intramurals, but not the Dodgeball Invitational. It was sad.
Oh, that's so sad. And welcome to This Movie Was a Hot Dog, a podcast where me and a friend of mine, the dodgeball loser Matthew, watch a bad movie, critically, financially, or otherwise, then we review it, break it down, and tell you what we think. And this week, we didn't watch a movie for really no reason other than we just didn't.
Other than it's Christmas.
Other than it's Christmas, and we had to pick a Christmas movie. And so when I went Christmas-themed movie. And when I went to go pick a Christmas-themed movie, Netflix had a bunch of, Lifetime original movies, which would just be boring, and a bunch of really silly kids movies like Ernest Saves Christmas and, WWE Goes to Christmas. So,
why didn't we watch that?
I don't know, because you picked this one. I gave you the option.
You didn't even offer me WWE. I would have picked that.
But anyway, we picked the Power Rangers Samurai Christmas episode. And first of all, let's just say this is a clip show. This is the episode where all the characters reminisce and how great their friendship is, so we don't actually see them fight anyone or do anything. So what we're left with instead is the awesome acting of what appears to be 5 autistic young adults and some guy from New Zealand who is a magic samurai person for some reason. And it's not like we thought we might be surprised by how good this was or anything. We both were expecting this to be terrible, obviously, right?
But it was just an unpolished turd.
There was I feel like when I watch my sister's TV shows, because I have a 13-year-old sister, and she watches all of that preteen angsty garbage, and I can't stand it. But most of those kids can sing and actually dance and shit.
They look like they won out at a casting call.
Right, and they're yeah, exactly. There's but this was just
I don't know what any of these people are doing.
I don't know how people still watch this. This is the 17th incarnation of the Power Rangers.
Still running strong.
I guess I knew it was still on, but I had no idea they were that far into the Power Rangers mythos. And I was looking at the list of all these Power Rangers. They're named, they're not even they gave up trying 8 Power Rangers ago on what to call these things.
Dude, they gave up 10 ago. By the time we were alive, we were still probably watching Power Rangers around the 3rd iteration when it was the Cars.
Yeah,
and it was hey kids, cars are cool, right? Because you can't drive those yet.
That is the 3rd iteration. Here, let me just list them because I got them up.
Oh, first
Mighty
Morphin dinosaurs.
No, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. That's what they're called.
Where the Zords were dinosaurs.
Right. Then it's Zeo,
right.
Turbo, In Space, Lost Galaxy, Lightspeed Rescue, Time Force, Wild Force, Ninja Storm, Dino Thunder, SPD, Mystic Force, Operation Overdrive, Jungle Fury, RPM, Samurai, and Mega Force, and Rainbow Force and Ocean Rangers.
This sounds like when we go back and forth and make up fake movie series.
You want to know how fake that was? I made the last 2 up.
Oh, I believe you.
All the other ones are true, though. I made the last 2 up. There's no Rainbow Force. But, Lightspeed Rescue, Turbo, RPM, those are all the same thing.
Lightspeed Rescue is when there was a fire truck and a police officer. And
are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
And Turbo was just regular cars.
Well, for a while, too, I think it was the first 8, they were actually connected. They all connected back to the original Rangers.
And every now and then, they would have, let's get all 30 of the Rangers together and just, go apeshit on somebody.
Yeah, but now, every time a new Power Rangers come up, they are not connected to anybody in any way. It is completely its own universe. They act like the other ones didn't happen. And because of that, most of them are only on for like a year.
Yep.
Like 2003 Ninja Storm, 2004 Dino Thunder, 2005 SPD. Like it's just a year, and I'm pretty sure it's just so that they can sell more toys, right?
Possibly the toys, possibly just because like people don't care, so you really have to change it up that fast to keep people interested.
But even the original one, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, was only on for 2 years.
I was gonna say, I think that one actually had multiple seasons, if I remember.
It did. I think it had like 3 seasons or something, but it was
I
only
would guess
on
3.
But yeah, I would bet that it's like, okay, we pump out an episode of Power Rangers, we get to sell kids a bunch of new plastic morphers with lights and shit, and then we can fire all those kids and just do it again the next year.
Well, capitalism. But we're not here to talk about that.
We're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the Power Rangers Samurai Holiday Spectacular, whatever the fuck it was called.
Good enunciation. I feel like you really respected their culture there. And
now, well, not to go back and reminisce for a second, but just to lay everybody out how bad this is.
Yeah.
Now I don't know. Now you made it sound like you had watched them, had you? The original ones back in the day?
Oh, of course, with Rita as, the evil lady on the moon or wherever who'd send down the putties. But, like, she was somewhere, and she would look down on Earth through her giant looking glass and, like, just kind of try to meddle from afar. And that was the premise of the show.
Right. I had all the toys and all that shit. My dad took me to the movie, which I always cite as evidence that he truly loves me, because 2 years ago, Netflix put up the original First Generation, and I think it's still there if you want to watch it, if you reminisce like that.
I don't.
And I watched, well, I meant not you, I meant other people. All of our listeners, all 3 of them.
You're just talking to me.
I know, this is just me and you. We might as well just be yelling into tin cans. And I watched the first couple episodes, and I must have been brain damaged when I was a kid. Because the show is such dog shit. I mean, it was bad, and I'm glad to see that it hasn't gotten any better.
I don't know why you're glad about that, but
well, it's because of the reliance on cheap CGI now. It's actually gotten a lot worse.
Okay, well, yeah, there's like a couple cheap CGIs. I think the best example, which we'll get into later, is the swordfish.
The giant robot swordfish that lives in the ocean?
I mean, let's start going through it, and we'll
okay. Scene 1. Bulk from Bulk and Skull from the original series is in this? He must be like 55 years old.
I was going to say, like, I thought he looked familiar. I wasn't sure. But yeah, the modern equivalent of Bulk and Skull, and I guess apparently played by the original actor.
Well, because the kid who plays Skull is just called Spike, and he's much younger, so he calls Bulk Uncle Bulk. Did Skull die?
Gosh, I have no idea. Because so it was kind of weird, because in the original, like, they were the main antagonists when the Power Rangers were not transformed. And so in this, it almost seemed like they were with them, because you see several times where the bad guys target them, and where they are not transforming, but they're pretending to be, like, samurai with, like, kendo swords.
Bulk, the big fat bald guy, like, he's retarded, right?
I think they both are.
Like, he's gotta be, like, I'm giving, like, the kid the benefit of the doubt that he's just, like, a goofy kid, but, like, later on in this episode, they live in a garage? Like, they're homeless.
They're homeless, and so Kayla pointed out, because we were watching this together, she's like, apparently, like, if you're too fat or too thin and just not pretty enough, then you're just poor and life sucks for you. Because all of the Power Rangers are highly photogenic, and then you've got these two who are just slumming it. And it's just like, eat shit, ugly people.
Well, okay, so these two, like, inbred, mentally handicapped ugly people are walking down the street, and they both appear to be freezing to death. Like,
because they don't have a jacket at all.
They are behaving as if it is negative 20 degrees outside, but nobody around them is, and the people around them aren't in, like, parkas. It's like they just said, extras, just walk. Don't look around, just walk like you normally do.
You know what, now that you point that out, it's...
And they say Bulk and Skull, act like it's the Ice Age.
Act like you walked out of your room and it's Antarctica and you still have to go to the store anyway.
honestly, I'm surprised they didn't put, like, cartoon icicles on their faces.
That's pretty much exactly how they were acting.
And they walk up to a window at some kind of store, and they see a motorcycle in it, and they want it. And because they have a mental handicap and they don't understand the concept of money, they empty out their pockets, and they only have $1.50 in change. And they act like they only need to save up for like 2 weeks, and then they can get it.
Yeah, right? It's like, oh, we're almost there.
It's like... And then they, like, are disappointed and they walk away. At this point in the show, I paused it to write down a note, saw that I was only 36 seconds into the episode, and was not looking forward to the next 22 minutes.
No, it's a pretty shitty start, and, like, it's bad.
So, we cut to the Power Rangers dojo?
Yeah, I was going to say, so we cut to some guy dragging in a Christmas tree and a group of teens who we are left to assume are the Power Rangers, having never watched any of these. Yeah, they run up to him, and he's the authority figure, and they start yelling, "Mentor! Mentor!" And it's like, wait, what? Like,
it's like they got so lazy. First of all, these are Power Ranger Samurai. The guy who is mentor and is also their mentor is not a Japanese guy. He's like from New Zealand.
Yeah.
Or like he's like a Samoan or something. It didn't make any sense. And also when they're calling him mentor, I'm like, they've just completely given up, haven't they?
Because like normally you'd refer to, if you're a samurai, you might like go sensei or something. And it seems like they literally just put the script through Google Translate and they were like, that means mentor. So we'll call him mentor.
Well, that's like if in the original Power Rangers it wasn't Zordon, it was just like Ghostface Man.
Ghostface! It's Ghostface!
Anyway, then the theme song to Power Rangers plays, and it's the exact same theme song except they crammed the word samurai in there. Right?
I actually enjoyed the original Power Rangers theme song. It was like super electric and very exciting.
It's all guitar.
Right?
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it was wasn't it written by like Buckethead or something like that?
It is. There is actually, I don't know if it's Buckethead. It's a band like that. But there's the full versions online. It's really, really good.
Yeah.
Like, I actually have it on my iPod because it's a good song.
Yeah, they commissioned a real metal artist to like, hey, can you make a badass intro for a show about a bunch of kids with fighting robots? Yeah, I can probably pull that off.
But it's 2014, so we like Skrillex it up a bit. Yeah, I know.
You know what? If they did I don't think there's a dubstep intro song yet, but the day that comes.
That's the day I stop watching TV.
Right?
That's when I go, you know what? I haven't read all the books.
It's on the horizon, though. Like, now that I've said that, can't you feel it?
No, it's kind of like the hair on the back of my neck just stood up.
Right? You can feel it. It's coming. There is going to be a dubstep intro song, and you're going to hate your kids if you ever have any, and they'll watch it.
I don't have kids yet, and I already hate them.
Right?
So
good.
Good. So the show starts, and so the Yellow Ranger, who we know is the Yellow Ranger because she has a yellow computer, is writing her sister an email. Did you catch what her email was?
I did not. What is it?
Apparently the person she's writing the email to is named like Serene, and the email is serene@powerrangeremail.net.
I missed that.
And again, I was like, we're not even trying. Like, we just gave up years ago.
Oh my god, that's so good.
And now we're just writing bullshit. And I'm like, is Serene a Power Ranger? Why is her email
Why is she on the server?
Why is she on the server? And
Do you have to get invites like Google Plus? I don't know.
Well, she's the only Serene because it's not like Serene.2.
I think there's not a lot of names taken yet on PowerRangersEmail.net.
PowerRangersEmail.net. I'm like, so they have a website then?
Yeah, I mean, it's the modern information age. You gotta go public.
And that was the other thing, too. Like, in the original Power Rangers, Zordon was on another planet, right?
His little thing? No, I thought their their main base was on Earth because it gets raided occasionally.
But it was like in the desert.
It was in the middle of bumblefuck nowhere. They had to teleport to it.
Right. The Power Rangers' main base of training is like on the bay in San Francisco.
Yeah, the location's pretty nice.
It's in the right. Like, who owns this house? Does the Sensei guy own this house?
I mean, maybe the government pays for it.
So the Yellow Ranger is writing a letter, and she's basically
a plot device for progressing this little clip show.
Right. So she's basically, the first part is her talking about how she has a crush on this one dude, pretty much.
Okay, starts out with just him. Eventually, did you feel like she had a crush on everyone? Like all of the guys and all of the girls? I
sort of got the impression that they were all... I didn't just say that in the beginning because that they were, like, bad actors. I got the impression that they're all stupid.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like they're all kind of autistic to a degree where it's like they act really weirdly. We'll get to how she acts stupid.
Yeah.
And get ready for me and Matt to say this phrase a lot. So, cut to a flashback. Because this episode
it's a clip show.
It's a clip show. This episode is like 22 minutes long. There are like 55 flashbacks.
Each like 5 seconds long.
So, we cut to a flashback of how they all became Power Rangers, and because we have no idea what the show's about, all we can tell is it involves, like, magic arrows and a dude on a horse or something?
So, they called it the message arrow, quote-unquote, and it was an arrow that would literally just come out of the sky and embed itself in some nearby object. And on it would be a note that was just like, meet the Red Ranger here, or something like that. That's the best I gathered. Because when they're gathering, they're all like, are you the Red Ranger? Are you the Red Ranger? And then, like, on a friggin' horse rides some douche. And, like, he's just like, it's me. And this is our first encounter with the robot, who he's not...
Wait, there's a robot?
Yes, and it's the Red Ranger. He has the skin like a human, but in all of his lines and all of his interactions, he is a robot. And I challenge you to prove me wrong.
Oh my god, I thought I lost my mind for a second. I was like, did I miss the robot?
Duh, there's another Alfalfa or whatever he was called.
Alpha.
See, I was close.
You were right there, Alfalfa.
I guess I should have stopped earlier.
But now that you say that, it's completely right. Because, like, first of all, let's get it again. I don't know if I'm just having nostalgic memories. Mm-hmm. I do not remember the first group of kids being this bad. I mean, they couldn't have been. They were in a movie.
Well,
I mean, even if you're in a movie, you have to be able to, like, they couldn't have been terrible, right?
So they wore their emotions a bit on their sleeves, and, like, if they're trying to play sad, they might as well have said, I'm sad, because, like, you're playing for kids. But in the end, like, I don't think any of them were literally robotics. Although, if you went back and watched it, the show is so 90s, it's, like, pretty laughable.
But, I mean, in this show, like, obviously this is a kid's show, but I'm not going to hold it to that. I'm going to hold it to acting ability. Oh. Like, there's this one kid who wakes up in the morning and is like, oh my god, Santa came.
Yeah, right? He literally does a kip out of his sleeping bag and is like, Santa!
And this guy's like 23 years old. And that's when I'm like, oh, this is kind of sad. Like,
it's kind of sad. He's dumb.
So... We finished the Red Ranger flashback. We then have another flashback of her helping her crush who hurt his back. So she is bringing him a pack of frozen peas to use as an ice pack. And this dude acts like not only has he never heard of this concept, but as if she might be trying to hurt him.
Yeah, right.
He's like, what is that? And she's like, it's a pack of frozen peas.
It's a pack of pure poison.
It's a pack of frozen peas that used to hurt my back a lot. You can use it. And he's like, what? What are you talking about? And he literally runs away.
And then because she's the derpy Klutzmatron, she just, like, ends up with everything everywhere.
Well, she chases him and then trips on another bag of frozen peas that was on a plate on the ground.
Yeah, that's right.
And I was like, what the fuck was that there for?
For her to trip on.
There? It had to be. The only reason that would be there is because she had to trip on it.
Yep.
There's no real reason. There wasn't a character walking by. He's like, oh, I gotta do something. I'll just put these down on the ground for a second. And peas go fucking everywhere. And she proceeds to act like a dumb baby. Like she's on the ground and she's like, oh no, I spilled the peas.
Yeah, it's just massive pandering to children.
And she tries to clean it up. And she trips again. And I honestly thought she was going to start crying. Because she's just like, where? I spilled the peas again. And I was like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life.
The whole scene was pretty retarded. But the beginning of it, she like kind of lays out the characterization of each character. So you have the Red Ranger, who was a robot designed in Japan. And then you have the Green Ranger, who's a troubled youth from a bad neighborhood. And there's a scene where he's like in a junkyard. And then Kayla had another good one where she's like standing on the roof near tires. It's so rebellious.
Well, that's who her crush is. Well, because like this is how stupid the show was too. Then her next flashback is literally a 3-second clip of when they all went on a roller coaster.
Okay, and then this is where the best line is, because they're all on the roller coaster and like...
Wait, can I guess if you're going to say the same thing I'm going to say? Are you going to say, being a samurai isn't all fun and games?
No, it's when he says, like, you're allowed to have fun, but he says it like the way your school principal would say it, almost sarcastically. Like, he's like, it's okay to have fun sometimes, you know? And it's like, when do we start? Have we started?
Well,
I don't think we have yet.
She says that, he says that, and her line is in reaction to that, being a samurai isn't all fun and games, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure there are no fun and games in being a samurai.
I haven't heard of any samurai games.
Right, when is the samurai game happen? So, we keep talking about the rebellious guy, because we break down each character. So, there's another flashback of them practicing with wooden swords, and her crush, the rebel, is supposed to be having a hard time with training. So,
and you literally don't see it.
Right, you don't see it. But they're swinging. This is the worst example of this.
Right?
Tell me if you caught this.
I did.
They're swinging these fake swords around, and
so it's two of them trying to mirror each other's movements.
Right, and the guy that the rebellious guy is standing next to accidentally whacks him on the arm, and he goes, "Ouchies!" And the Red Ranger comes up to him and just starts laying into this dude about, like, how he needs to focus.
How he needs to have his guard up at all times when the person he's supposed to be mirroring the person next to him.
He didn't do anything. He accidentally got hit because of the other dude.
And that's why the Red Ranger is a robot.
And that's why the Red Ranger is a robot, and that's why they do such a poor job of establishing that this guy is having a hard time, because he appears to be doing just fine. And then we cut to him being scolded again for not knowing how to write in Japanese.
Calligraphy.
What the fuck does that have to do with being a Power Ranger?
So I get the sense that, like, so it shows them transforming, which in the original series is just like hold a thing in front of your face and shout. But in this apparently you have to do a calligraphy bit to transform, and they also apparently have additional powers with which they're able to access through calligraphy. That's why they have to practice penship.
We'll get to.
Yeah.
But so then we cut to the thing you were talking about where he's in a junkyard by himself just doing backflips.
Just looking angsty.
Right, and then suddenly that's all he needs to do to be a good fighter. So we cut to a previous episode where they are fighting a monster, and he shows up and goes, "Stand back, everybody. I'm going to fight them alone," which is the dumbest fucking thing you could ever do.
Because the four of them were apparently having trouble, so what we need is just, the ringer to do all of it for them.
And so this is where this is the only time we see anybody morph. It's morphin' time.
Yep.
And the morphin' time, like you said, guy holds something up and goes, "I'm the Red Ranger, beep, bop, boop." And then he just, very 90s, just morphs into the Red Ranger.
Yep.
This guy pulls out a flip phone, yells, "Samurais," which is just, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck does that even mean?
And that's the thing. So in the original Power Rangers, they had, like, the communicator watches. They had the iconic, like, beep, 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 that went off whenever they had a message. And they could use those to teleport to their little Power Rangers lair. And then
I had one of those things.
Everybody did if you were cool. And so it was a lot of very iconic gadgetry. But then with this, it was just like their flip phones. Because, you know, the show is modern. And so the flip phone is like your little transformation object and communicator.
You say modern. When was the last time you had a flip phone?
I tried to say modern with a sense of irony. I guess I kind of went through it.
Okay, so he pulls out his flip phone, says "Samurais," and then says "Go Go Samurai," and then turns into a Power Ranger. Oh, he says "Samurais," then he lasers calligraphy into the sky.
There you go.
And then Go Go Samurai, and then turns into a samurai.
And even though he's painting it in the sky with a laser cell phone, it still has all the splotchiness of as if he did it with ink.
And what is stopping any of the bad guys from going like, "Hey, he's about to morph, quick, shoot him."
Quick, just shoot him in the head. He's just a human. Like,
right.
Those can take bullets all day.
They're like, "Nope, he's morphing." Everybody hold back for the whole 10 seconds it takes him to say these words and do these things. So then we find out that they can just like in this universe, there's just plain magic. They're at their calligraphy lesson and they're writing letters in Japanese, and then the letters become that thing, which is just magic.
And so my favorite one is this is, again, like Green Ranger having trouble, where it's like he does calligraphy and then just literally a rock appears out of nowhere and falls on his foot. And they're like, "You idiot." And it's like, well, and then everybody else just has like wind and stuff like that. So it's like.
That's what I was going to say. He paints a rock appears, falls on some guy's foot, and they all go, "You retard." But then another guy paints water and water splashes in his face. But apparently he's not stupid. He did it the right way.
Right.
Like, they don't like, the only reason he is not the best Ranger is because nobody likes him.
Apparently. And so that's where you get into the stuff of like children's episodes when they get lazy. Like it's one thing to cater to children and keep your plot simple and wear your emotions on your sleeve. But then when you have things like bad blocking where you have people reacting to things that aren't there. And like that's where it crosses over from catering to children to just being lazy. Because like the whole point of theater is like you don't do the thing that you're supposed to do because the script says you're supposed to do it. You're supposed to be doing it because in theory you're reacting to something on stage. And so I guess that is our biggest complaint of like them just calling him a moron, even though it's like, hey, take it easy on the Green Ranger.
So now we're done talking about that guy for a while. So because we got to pad this episode out, we have a flashback of all the Rangers putting bells on each other, and then there's another 2-second clip of them at an amusement park again. And then we're talking about how Robotron Red Ranger is like he's just too dedicated to the cause of being a Power Ranger, and he's like swinging a fire sword or something, and then he passes out from too much magic or whatever. Do you have a better explanation as to what happened?
No, I don't.
Okay, so he passes out from too much magic or whatever, and then we flash back again to the Red Ranger and another guy practice fighting. Then there's a flashback to a bad guy who is like, no. Then we flash back to this guy who is fishing for a giant swordfish robot.
So they say like they're trying to acquire a mystic item called the fish disc or something like that, which in classic Power Rangers, like they acquire little tidbits that they add onto their weapons, and then like usually it's there for the rest of the series.
Because we got to sell toys, so let's make another plastic thing. Because it's a plastic thing.
Exactly.
I wouldn't be surprised if they just gave him one of the toys they were going to sell, and they're like, this is the prop.
It literally looked like that quality. And so when they finally get it, though, so like you said, they catch what is literally a giant swordfish. It's like the size of a bus.
It's not just a giant swordfish. It's a giant
robot swordfish. That's true.
Which is like the worst CGI. And he is just on the beach with a fucking, like,
rod.
I'm gonna catch guppies fishing rod. He reels in this thing that must weigh 100,000 pounds.
And then it literally turns into something the size of a CD.
And I'm like, is this thing always been in the ocean?
Yep, just devouring people.
Has this always been there? Did it show up from a magic place? Is it a magic fishing rod? Is the robot magic? It has to be, because it goes from a robot to turning into a plastic disc.
Which, when used, they literally just, like, plug it in on the side of, like, an 8-foot sword.
They plug it into a Final Fantasy III sword.
And so, like, that's another thing where it seems like the show tries to have Japanese roots. Like, in Japan, like, it's an island nation, essentially, so there's a lot of fishermen. And, like, and in Japanese anime, you see a lot of people with, like, 6-foot swords that are, like, 2 feet wide. And so this sword is almost straight out of that. And it's like, I see what you're trying to do, but I don't get it.
Hey, how about this? If you're going to have a show and you want it to be sort of Japanese centralized, and you're going to have your guys be samurais, why don't you make their leader a goddamn Japanese person?
Or maybe even just have one anywhere.
He's from fucking New Zealand. He doesn't even talk in a Japanese accent. And sometimes he's in like I don't know, this is going to sound terrible, but that like goddamn Japanese like skirt they all wear. And then other times he's just in like a jacket.
So now I feel like you're going to complain about the Luigi in the Mario Brothers movie not being Italian.
He's fucking Puerto Rican. Why would you have him be Puerto Rican and have Mario be a British guy?
Because we're not racist, Zach.
And his name's Mario.
And Luigi Mario.
Come on. That's so stupid. That's a whole other episode.
PowerRangersEmail.net.
If you got any problems, you can email me at ZachTheReverend@PowerRangersEmail.net /PowerRangers.com.
Can we try and set that up through like AOL or something? Give ourselves emails. All right, next week we'll give you our PowerRangers.net emails. First we have to go make those.
So then we flash back to modern day where all the guys proceed to bash the pink Power Rangers' inability to cook food. Like
that's a good 5 minutes of the episode.
Like she is like, they're all like creeping around a door, and she also appears to have some sort of disorder because she's burning something in the kitchen, and they're all like, what is she, stupid? Like, can't she see that this is, like, not, like, it's on fire? Right, exactly. Like, it's on fire. And she pulls out a roast chicken that is burnt to a crisp and has, like, little flames all over it. And she looks at it and smiles as if, like, oh, it's perfect.
Oh, this came out way better than the last one.
Right. And I see that and I'm like, well, clearly she's not okay, right? Like, I feel like they weren't looking at her to like to be like, oh man, we're making fun of her. I feel like they were looking at her to make sure she didn't hurt herself.
And I feel like there's a lot of that in this where it's like, oh, these actors are obviously way too attractive for these roles. We have to try and humanize them to make them bumbling morons. And so to make them, I guess, more approachable or something.
Well, they don't give them any, like, real-world faults. Like, one of them could be, like, the garbage, the rebel guy could be, like, my dad used to hit me. Like,
that's
that could
way too heavy for Power Rangers.
But it could be a real-world thing, and this very attractive Japanese girl isn't like, ooh, I grew up in Japan, and being in America right now is very hard for me. I don't understand culturally how to interact with you people.
Yeah.
Instead, it's just like, oh, I don't know how to cook.
Yeah, the faults are really, like, invented and weird. And that's again, a thing where it's like, you can either cater to children, or you can just give up and turn out a pile of dog shit. So,
after she burns the chicken, she then uses a CGI sword to chop up a cantaloupe into a pot?
Yeah,
what the fuck is she cooking?
It was so weird how, like, just for that one little segment of prep, she's like, I'm going to use my Power Rangers powers. And then just, like, goes back to normal.
Well, I completely would understand if I didn't know this, because I'm not going to claim to be the most worldly person by any means. Is there some kind of dish where you boil cantaloupe?
I'm sure you could probably do that with, like, any fruit, but there's not, like, a specific one that I can think of.
Because that sounds disgusting.
Cantaloupe is disgusting.
She brings She brings this meal she cooked to, like, her crush. And
which is the black guy who's not the Black Ranger, oddly enough.
No. Well, because in the 90s, they figured out that was a bad PR move when they're like, the girl's pink, the Chinese girl's yellow, the black guy's black, and the Irish guy's red.
Irish guy's green, and the Native American guy's red.
Oh, that's right. You're right. And everyone just went, shut up, put your costume on. So she gives him this, she gives the black guy this food, and he opens it up, and it looks like somebody had diarrhea in a bowl. And, like, I don't know. You gotta say something at that point. You gotta be like, this looks like garbage.
No, but they're in love and they're cute, and so he's gotta pretend that he likes it because it's cute.
Well, here's some relationship advice for anybody who's listening, which is nobody. When my girlfriend makes something that's gross, I straight up tell her this is gross. Because if you don't say that, guess what? You'll eat it again. She will make it again because she thinks you like it. Don't let that happen.
Honesty.
Moving on. Honesty.
Zach's pro honesty in a relationship. Look at that. Our show is morals now.
All of a sudden, one moral.
Honesty.
Then we cut to the Yellow Ranger continuing to write her note. She's talking about how they have this new Ranger who shows up. Man, is this just thumbed in there? Like, who the fuck was this dude?
He is the childhood friend of one of the other Rangers, and he is the Gold Ranger.
So, this dude shows up with a fishing pole because this whole show is just fish for some reason.
There's a lot of that,
and
yes.
They start talking about how he's so great. And this is when I started to just get so bored. I was like thinking about the in-depth workings of the Power Rangers. So they say his attacks are good and he is a good fighter and other shit like that.
Yeah.
But they say these things in such a nonchalant way. Like, first of all, the monsters they're fighting, they're straight up killing these things. Yes, they're bad guy monsters, but they are sentient beings. And they are slaughtering them by the dozens.
By the dozens. At least with the putties, it was like, oh, she literally just makes these in an easy bake oven.
Yeah, that's true. But these things are like, but beyond the putties even. Once they moved on from the putties, they were all like minions.
Yeah. And
each of them, honestly, should have like PTSD, like nobody's business.
I've killed so many.
Right? And they should have like very cold emotions and all this fighting.
Oh, you mean like the Red Ranger robot?
Right. Maybe
he's a better actor than I thought.
Right. Maybe that's it. Maybe we've been doing this all wrong and he's the best actor out of all of them, because out of all the murder should have left them dead inside.
That's cold.
It should be, though, because they are just like, when you break down, like, oh, he's such a good fighter. You mean his sword is very sharp, and when he cuts monsters' heads off, they die quickly?
Yes, that's what we mean.
Because that's what's happening. Because they say that as he kills 30 dudes by himself. So we cut back to the Power Rangers are still decorating, and, well, that's it. That's all that cut flashback is. They're just decorating. Then we cut to another flashback where all of the Rangers are inviting the Red Ranger into a pizza party, which he turns down, but then decides he does want pizza. That's that whole scene.
Because he's a robot. He's like, well, I can't eat pizza because I'm a robot, but I guess I'll try and be your friend, so I'll have a little pizza, but not too much that it crashes my robot.
I don't... So, tell me if you caught this. This is a scene in the show I hated the most. The beach scene.
Oh.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Do you know, I want to see if you can guess what line upset me the most. If you remember it all.
I can't remember specific lines. I just remember how cheesy it was, where they're like, oh, maybe the day off line?
Yeah, well, kind of. So, they're at the beach and they're just running through the water and they're having terrible dialogue. And the Pink Ranger goes, "We should come back to the beach one day." And then the Black Ranger goes, "Only if we bring sunscreen with us. I'm gonna fry out here."
Yeah.
First of all.
Him of all people.
Well, okay, first of all, he's a black dude. Second of all, he's in jeans and a windbreaker. None of his skin is exposed. And second of all, it looks like it's gonna rain. The sky was nothing but clouds. What the fuck was he talking about?
Yeah, it was like an overcast day in the evening, and they're all, like, pretty well covered. And Three of them were in the ocean, and the other two were on the beach with, like, their hands in their pockets wearing jackets. And I can only imagine that the people, as soon as they were out of the ocean, had to immediately have blankets put on them, because it looks cold outside. And he's like, "We're going to burn out here." I'm like, from fucking what? Are you guys going to start a fire later? So there ends that flashback. We cut back to Bulk and Spike asleep on the floor of a garage. So in addition to being mentally handicapped, they're also poor. Because they're not attractive.
Right. And Bulk is like trying to he's trying to build a motorcycle from scratch.
Boy, you have backtracked far.
It's all the same goddamn thing. Then we have a bunch of useless short flashbacks where they do nothing. Then so we're done with the flashback show, essentially.
And now they get their Christmas presents.
We get the Christmas presents. This is the part where the Rebel Ranger is going to sleep on the floor by the Christmas tree, which was weird.
And so he's there, and then he, like, kips up, and that commences the whole, Christmas, whatever, give presents. And
Not Christmas. Santa came. Santa's here.
Right? Yeah. Just the one thing that every adult knows isn't true. And then, sorry, kids, to, ruin that for you, but...
all the 8-year-olds listening.
After we've been swearing up a storm the whole time. And
don't worry, I label each episode explicit.
There you go. That should include Santa revelations. So, but so yeah, he does all that, and then he proceeds to sit and sulk the whole time while everybody else gets a present, and it's like, "Oh me, I don't get anything."
Well, I mean, it was kind of shitty. I mean, I get it's like a surprise, but like. Mentor.
Right.
I almost called him Sensei because that's what he should be fucking called. Mentor is handing out presents, and he's like, "Here's one for you, and one for you, and one for you."
But he literally frowns, like, at each handout when it's not him.
I know.
Like,
he's like, "Oh boy, I didn't get a present."
And then, of course, though, because it's a kid's show, it's like, no, you got the best present.
And he's like, "Look, here's a note from Santa." And he opens it up and it's like, "Look outside." And he looks outside and there's a fucking motorcycle out
Well, wouldn't that be great if you were just like, "Fucking look outside, that's all you got," just shreds it and like goes.
It's like, I didn't get anything, he leaves. Before we show, or did I say he gets a motorcycle? But before we say what happens at the end, we're cut to Bulk and Spike, who are also opening their presents. Spike gets a pair of fingerless gloves, which just defy the whole purpose that they've been freezing to death this entire episode.
Right.
Like, that's not going to help him. And then Bulk gets a pack of tissues. Easily way worse of a present than those fucking gloves. Those gloves cost at least $25, even with the fingerless part. That pack of tissues was $1. And Bulk has been, like, almost sneezing for, I don't know, like 2 days. And he's finally about to sneeze, so Spike gets him a bunch of tissues, and he sneezes at a window, and what I can only describe as the worst CGI known to mankind, where a bunch of tissues, CGI tissues, like, sort of appear at the window?
Yeah, just shotgun out.
But how hard is it to grab a handful of tissues and throw them at a window and film that? That's easily 1,000 times cheaper than CGI-ing tissues.
You don't know.
I got a good feeling.
All right, well, you'll have to go prove it.
I'll give you my research later.
Call the Mythbusters.
So also in the morning, the Yellow Ranger has finally finished writing her letter, and it's only took her, 12 hours?
That's what it feels like, yeah. It feels like days have passed while she's just been in her room writing this epic.
So the dude goes outside, and it's the fucking motorcycle, so whatever. So the motorcycle ranger goes on his motorcycle and drives away, and nothing really happens for a minute. He comes back, and they're all like, oh, we didn't hear you in your motorcycle. And he's like, oh, there were 2 guys in the park who didn't have anything for Christmas, so I just gave it to them.
And then I guess hitched a ride back.
And nobody goes, do you know how much fucking money we spent on that goddamn motorcycle? Like, nobody is like, what? That's like if you bought me... If you were here for Christmas and you bought me a PlayStation 4, I left for a little while, came back with a bunch of other shit, and it was like, oh yeah, I sold that PlayStation 4 and I just bought groceries. Like, you would be livid.
Yeah, I'd probably be pretty mad.
You'd be livid. That they should all be the same way.
But it's a kids' show and sharing is caring.
They bought him a motorcycle. That thing's like $20,000. And he gives it away. And then we cut to like a cartoon Santa, just like a silhouette of Santa going over a fucking moon. And then Bulk and Spike are on their motorcycle because the motorcycle can also fly. And then it's over or whatever.
And then we all killed ourselves for having watched it.
You're actually talking to my ghost. Matt, I've been dead for 30 years. Woo!
Wow. Well, I would have only known that for 26 at the most.
But that's fucking that. I mean, I don't even, like,
You
I don't
can't
even
rate
wanna...
it because it's a piece of shit. Like, there's no redeeming qualities.
No, there's no point.
You know, it's meant for children. We're not the target audience. I get that. But, like, in the end, it's also just an unpolished turd, as I said.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing good, obviously, like, it's not for us. Like, that's the one thing I'll say is that this is obviously not for us.
And so it gets a slight pass due to that.
Not, I guess.
But, yeah, like, for all the complaints that we've aired, you know, unforgivable, obviously. If any of you out there who aren't listening plan on making children's things, you can cater without pandering.
Right. Yeah, I guess you can. So... But I think we can, redeem this by suggesting a couple of Christmas movies that we both like. I think we can both go 2 on this.
Okay.
Just to sort of offset the garbageness of this.
Which is pretty garbage.
It's pretty goddamn garbage. So I think we can both do that and, you know, give some people something that is a little, maybe they haven't heard of before.
Maybe they won't want to kill themselves.
Yeah. Do you have anything set? Or I can go first if you want.
If you're going for ultra Christmassy, I would probably say Miracle on 34th Street. Good classic.
The original one or the one made with the girl who played Matilda?
I saw the original one.
They're both good.
Yeah.
I was just wondering.
And then a movie that is set around Christmas.
God, I hope you're going to say the one I hope you're going to say.
Die Hard.
Yes! That was the one.
I knew. Yep.
So tell everybody who hasn't seen Die Hard why they should see Die Hard.
Because it's set on Christmas and it'll make you feel good. That's it. Why?
Well, that's it. That's it.
That's why people watch Die Hard.
That's not why you watch it?
You know,
guys?
For a feel-good Christmas movie, watch Die Hard.
Well, yes, those I agree. So mine are, I'm going to go along the Die Hard line for my first one, set during Christmas, Gremlins.
Oh, excellent.
Excellent movie. It has a very good Christmas theme. Christmas actually sort of plays a part of the plot. Actually, that's the entire reason there are gremlins at all, is because it's Christmas, so I guess you could almost say it's the MacGuffin of the film.
Perfect.
And if you haven't seen Gremlins, I don't know why you wouldn't have, but it's a Steven Spielberg film. It's got all these little tiny monsters that are actual puppets. They're not CGI. It was made in the 80s. Okay. And when I say little tiny monsters, I don't mean like silly, goofy. I mean like this thing is sort of like it's a Christmas movie. It's a horror movie. It's a silly movie. It's kind of a dark comedy too.
It's a kid's horror movie, so it's like Goosebumps.
Yeah, but it fills a lot of holes, though.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
you can...
It's pretty widely accepted.
Yeah, you can check a lot of boxes off for what Gremlins will fill. And it's overall, like, a very good movie.
Yep.
Now, a movie that a lot of people might not have seen was on Netflix last year. I watched it for Christmas. I don't know if it is this year, but it's an extremely good film. I burped, sorry. It is a Finnish horror fantasy thriller comedy.
Oh.
It is called Rare Exports,
Really?
A Christmas Tale. Now, I'll give everybody, like, I'm going to have to explain it a little bit or nobody will care to look it up.
Let's hear it.
It is, so in Finland, the Santa Claus myth is that he lived in the highest mountain in Finland, and they're, like, I don't know if you've heard the German version of Santa Claus. He had, like, this black gnome that would go with him, and good kids got presents, and bad kids, the black gnome threw
Krampus.
into a bag. Yeah, Krampus. Threw it into a bag, and Krampus beat them with a stick.
Mm-hmm.
So, old world Santa was always kind of scary. So in the Finland version, Santa was kind of a monster person, and apparently there is a guy who thinks that the myth of Santa is real, does this whole big drilling operation because he's convinced the company he's looking for oil, but he's actually looking for Santa, finds him, and
What?
Santa is like a horrific monster man.
Who was sealed in a tomb and he's now been released?
Yes, literally.
Oh, good.
And, like, there's this little boy who is reading these old Finnish horror stories, and his dad is like, you're a stupid little boy, his mom's dead, so his dad is raising him, and he's like, Santa's coming to kill us, Santa's coming to kill us. And his dad is like, shut up, until they catch Santa in a wolf trap. And I don't want to explain the rest of the movie, because obviously I'll give it a... But it is really good. It is a dark comedy. It's funny, because, like, this guy looks like Santa, but he's like a monster human.
Well, I will be excited to check that out.
As you should. I've really got nothing else to say.
I think I have left it all on the table this week as well.
I think you have. Well, hold on. Stalling. Found the plugs. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or hate mail, we love hate mail. We haven't gotten any letters. It's very sad when I check the email every couple of weeks.
Every couple of weeks, because honestly, any more than that would be silly.
It's so sad, but if anybody other than you and me are listening, hey, just have your girlfriend send us an email and we'll read it on the next episode.
Okay.
You can email us at moviehotdog@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter at moviehotdog. You can follow us on Facebook at This Movie Was a Hot Dog. And that's about all for us. You're good?
Well, there's only one thing left to say.
And this movie was a hot dog.
This TV episode was a hot dog.
I'm sorry, this TV episode was this Power Rangers Samurai was a robot swordfish.